Migration without assimilation is Indian man booed, shoved at anti-immigration protest in Australia. Thousands of Australians came out for anti-immigration rallies happening across the country over the week. These tense demonstrations have even seen neo-Nazis and some politicians, including Pauline Hanson, Senator Malcolm Roberts, and federal MP Bob Katter, joining the lot, according to The Guardian. One such event in the past few days even saw an Indian immigrant turn out. The development was caught on camera, with the video now going viral on social media. Shared by the profile called Australian.guard on Instagram alongside being amplified on X by others, the video shows an Indian man come up to the stage to speak his mind on the issue. He's seen wearing the signature yellow Australia t-shirt, while surrounded by numerous others donning Australian flag-themed garments. Indian man joins Australia's anti-immigration protests. Initially, an Australian person was spotted addressing the event, but he eventually gives up his spot to the Indian man. "I want to say that yes, a brown man. Yes, I am an immigrant from India. I came here for the right reasons," he said on stage. Some people could be heard booing him at the time. However, he continued his message, saying immigration is about not taking but giving. Not demanding but respecting. He went on, "What I see happening today, this is not immigration. This is an open-door policy. Anyone can come in, claim a spot, and demand that Australia change for them. They are not blending into our culture. They are not protecting our freedom. They are twisting it." Many continued waving the Australian flag through the address, while disruptions also went on. But, as is evident, some were appreciative of what the Indian man had to say. A man behind was even seen applauding during his on-stage moment. However, the very next moment another comes up from beside the Indian migrant and shoves him aside. Stealing the mic away from, he violently tried to put his aggressive point of view across the listeners. The others who'd given the Indian man enough room to speak up in front of the anti-immigration protesters tried to tackle the heckler and get the mic back from him. Although the video cuts off there, the Indian immigrant presumably comes back to the front after the attacker is escorted off the stage. Netizens react to Indian migrant's message. While X-users' reactions to the Indian person taking the stage at such an event were unapologetic and ruthless, others on Instagram were relatively more welcoming. "This one can stay 100%, commented one among the latter party on Instagram. Someone else agreed with the Indian man's sentiment, adding, "Migration without assimilation is invasion." Yet another wrote, "Simple assimilate, adopt what our country values are, and it can be yours." A fourth person said, "I can't tell if they're booing him or booing with him. I don't mind immigrants, but as long as they respect our culture, laws, and assimilate and provide for this country." On the other side of the conversation, a skeptic questioned, "Why did they let that Indian talk?" Someone left a sarcastic comment, "I came here for the right reason," meaning to settle and breed, take jobs, and supplant the native population. Former journalist Prashant Kanogia spread the video on X along with his critical take on the Indian man speaking at the protest. Indian men went to join anti-immigrant protest in Australia and tried licking there to prove his loyalty for Australia, and he was kicked out of the protest. "This is what most Indian immigration do to get citizenship. Not by merit but by licking," he tweeted. Yet another person chimed in. He grabbed his 15 seconds of fame trying to play the good immigrant card at an anti-immigrant rally. Unless the organizers dragged him in as a token, he had zero business crashing that party. A third critic said, "Never play a mouthpiece for any whitey whether left or right." A fourth user chimed in, "The inferiority complex and white savior complex that we Indians still have is crazy." Meanwhile, another ex-user wrote, "Indians would do everything in their power to immigrate, including exploitation and abuse, but then turn around and be anti-immigrant. Make it make sense." Net overseas immigration not actually at all-time high. Despite the general public supporting the anti-immigration cause suggesting that immigration figures at record highs, the actual figures said otherwise. According to the Guardian report, the government countered the claims, stating the country's net overseas migration stats are actually 37% down from a recent high. As per the federal government's revelations, the NM figures for the 12-month period to December 31, 2024, was 341,000 people, which is down from the NOM peak of 538,000 people recorded in the 2022 to 2023 year. Update: ME spokesperson Ranveer Jaiswal responds to anti-immigration protest in Australia. On Friday, Jaiswal briefed media, addressing several questions raised about global relations. One such case becoming the focus of the day happened to be the anti-immigration protests that took place in Australia just days ago. Our High Commission and Consulates General in Australia have remained closely engaged with Government of Australia and also with representatives of the Indian diaspora in this regard, he shared with the media, adding that the Indian diaspora in Australia is estimated over 1 million. Jaiswal added that before the protests went into full swing, the Indian High Commission had relayed the concerns faced by several sections of the Indian diaspora to the Australian government. As a formal response, the international panel acknowledged how alarming these protests are for the diverse communities in the country. Senior leaders and politicians in Australia belonging to the government and the opposition issued statements supporting the multicultural nature of the Australian society, he added. The contribution of Indian diaspora in Australia was also acknowledged and appreciated. Firmly stating that India also believes that diversity is strength, Jaiswal said that India has great regard for its strategic partnership with Australia, which is, in turn, backed by strong people-to-people ties. He concluded, the government is committed to the welfare and well-being of all Indians abroad, and remains closely engaged with the Government of Australia and our diaspora there. The video sparked heated online debate, has drawn responses from both governments, highlighting the sensitivity of immigration issues and the importance of multicultural harmony in Australia. That is all for today in this video. What are your thoughts on this? Please let us know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching the entire video. Hopefully, the information is useful to you. See you later in the next video. Till then, take care.
Migration without assimilation is Indian man who throughout 8 anti-immigration protests in Australia. Anti-immigration rallies erupted across Australia this week, drawing thousands including neo-Nazis and politicians like Colin Hanson, Malcolm Roberts and Bob Cato. A viral video captured an Indian immigrant addressing protesters, declaring its respect for Australian values while criticizing Auckland migration. Though some applauded, others booed, and he was shot off stage by an aggressor before order was restored. Online reactions were divided. Instagram users praised his call for assimilation, while critics on X accused him of panting of hypocrisy. Former journalist Prashant Kanoria harshly condemned his participation. Despite protesters claiming report immigration, government data contradicted this, showing that overseas migrant ate 341,000 for 2044, a 37% drop from the 2022 to 23 peak of 538,000. The Indian government also responded with MEA spokesperson Ranveer Jaiswal stressing close engagement with the